Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Take Back Control Tuesday. Now, I can't tell you what the outcome is going to be for each and every one of you, but what I can tell you is for the next hour and 40 minutes, the time we're going to spend together, if you apply what you learn, this will change your financial future. If you're here, that means you're ready for change. And tonight, that's exactly what we're gonna deliver. I've got a special guest for you. His name's Jason Sipple. He is a master of what you're gonna learn. But what are you going to learn? Well, Jason is gonna teach you three things. He's gonna teach you how to take back control of your money by being your own bank. And then he's also gonna teach you how to build wealth through your own debts and expenses. That'll be the second thing you learn. And the third thing you'll learn, hence the cars, you're gonna learn how to get all the money back for every single car that you ever buy, drive, and own. And before you get into it, one last favor, just click that button right there, the subscribe button. It would do me a huge favor. And also, right above is a little bell. Smash that bell so that every time I put new content out, you'll be notified. So I don't want to waste any more time. It's time for Jason to really show you all about the infinite banking concepts. Let's roll.
Take back control.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday?
What if by changing one thing, everything could be better in your life financially? Would you make that one change to be financially free? That one paradigm shift is the new skill set or the gap between you and the wealthiest families. And in the chat, who here, put an I, who here wants more money? Who here wants more control of your finances? And who here wants freedom? I'm going to let you in on a little known fact. The wealthiest families and visionaries like the Rockefellers and Walt Disney have been using a strategy called the infinite banking concept for ages to build and preserve their empires. And this strategy is simple, it's legal, and it's something that you all have access to. And it all starts with changing that one thing. Paying ourselves first, giving ourselves a little bit more love. And shockingly, we're giving away a big chunk of our money every time we get paid to the bank, to the government, and to Wall Street. And do you all here want to know how you can recapture and recycle all of that money that's leaving your family? Would that be a valuable thing to know? And again, it all starts with just changing one thing. Where does your savings, your surplus money go first? So get ready as we're going to dive into the infinite banking process. We're going to talk about whole life, and we're going to show you how you can make money with every car that you buy, drive, and own. And we're going to uncover how we can turn our debts into assets. And a lot of times, our debts are more valuable than an opportunity to invest in something. What if you can recapture and recycle all of that interest back into your family while growing that money guaranteed? And success leaves clues. Like one of my mentors, Tony Robbins, says, let's see how you can apply these clues to you and your family. And like you, I thought this was unbelievable. Someone who used to work a 9-to-5 job, or never 9 to 5, more hours than that, but now I'm on my own as an entrepreneur. And once you see how simple this concept is, you realize that the future and your financial freedom for you and your family is right there within your grasp. So let's dive into this. So look at this happy red guy here. Like, I want you all, this is a journey of our imagination, a journey of logic. I want you all to maybe close your eyes or just visualize a room full of 100 18-year-olds that have just graduated high school and they got their whole world in front of them. And then I'm up there and I ask them simply, how many of you are going to be financially successful by retirement age? And they're going to be going, ooh, me, call me, Jason. They're not even going to wait till I call them. They're going to be yelling, I'm going to be the next millionaire, the next billionaire, the next Elon, the next Mark Zuckerberg, the next Bezos. They are going to think that they are going to be wildly successful. But then something happens between 18 and the decades later when they're ready to retire. Something happens. And now, out of all that room, all that excitement, all that possibility, with nothing but future and opportunities in front of them, only five of those kids will be financially free. Five. How's that possible? We live in the greatest country in the world, in the greatest time in history to earn money. How can only 5% of us be financially free? And financially free isn't even wealth. It just means that you don't have to go back to work. You're not working at the local grocery store, at the local big box store. You're not needing to go get a job after you wanted to retire from what you've done for your whole career. This is shocking and it's sad, but this is our reality. And so I want you all to keep an open mind that what we've been taught about money, we've been taught to give up control of our money. We've been taught to assume the risk, and it's costing people their freedom. And all this is today is an exercise in logic. Look what the wealthy are doing with their money, and then understanding how we can use this to build our generational wealth. You know, as this wise man said, Will Rogers, the problem in America isn't so much what people don't know, it's what we think we know that just ain't so. I got off the phone earlier today with someone who read a book in his 20s. He's 60 in a few months, a personal friend of mine. And he had been buying term and investing the difference all his life. So he had a lot of sunk bias or cost into that theory. But now, like Will Rogers said, this is the truth. So what I'm going to tell you today about money might be hard to hear. What you've been taught might not actually be the truth. Hold space for that. I need you to keep an open mind because I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you in the way that you think about money, but all for the betterment of you and your family. So who am I? Why do I get to share this with you? It's a blessing every time I'm here on Take Back Control Tuesday. But who am I? If you look, the most important things for me in my life are my wife and my two boys, and really being that father that's going to provide, protect, and create for my family. But I didn't always have this sense of financial security. If you go back 4 years, I had walked away from a $180,000 a year job where I had built a recruitment division, right, from zero to $25 million as an entrepreneur. And I found myself trading my time for money. I found myself working harder and harder, having like 5 job titles, trading an extra 30 hours to make what I had made 5 years previously when I was a recruiter. And I placed thousands of people, 3,000 plus people in better jobs where they made more money than they would locally. But my reality is what my parents taught me up until that point wasn't getting me where I wanted to go, right? Showing up first, leaving last, working hard, being humble, adding value. It wasn't the roadmap to financial freedom. I was actually barely past living paycheck to paycheck, even though we had done really well for ourselves. And I thought, man, this can't be, there's no way I can take care of my future self. And so a couple months after that, after I had left corporate America, I was in the back of a mastermind helping someone lead a room full of successful people like all of you and talking about what was our big vision, what did we want, where did we see ourselves, who we were going to be. And everybody's screaming and yelling out how much money they're going to make and how much they're going to have and what they're going to do and who's going to be in their circle, and everything, just everything was possible. And in that moment, I started crying. I broke down and I had tears running down my face. And I'm supposed to be leading this thing. And I felt like I had failed my beautiful wife, my boys, and I knew I needed help. And so I went to a mentor of mine who's a fiduciary with 40 wealth management offices, really successful when it comes to finances and everything to do with wealth and estate planning. And I said, man, Brian, I need a financial philosophy. Will you help me? And it started with me subjugating my ego and asking another man for help. And he handed me a book. I'm going to show you the book on the next page, but he handed me a book. And that book hooked me. I read it in one night, and don't be impressed, it's only 91 pages, but I read it in one night and I got mad, like going through grief angry. And so I read it again the next day and I thought, this can't be true. If this was true, every single American needs to do this. And I will do this. So I called him up. I yelled at him like any of you would, said, what the heck, man? Why didn't you tell me about this? I've known you for 2 years now. Why didn't you tell me earlier? He goes, Sip, you weren't ready. So all of you are here because you're in that 5%. You're investing your most valuable resource now. So right now you're a white belt in the infinite banking concept, or maybe you're already practicing, so maybe you have a colored belt. But let's explore what's possible and how we can help you get on the mat if you're not on the mat yet. So who's ready to get started? You guys ready? Here's a couple people, right? It's not a new concept. It's been around for hundreds of years. But here's some people that you guys might know about. So the first guy, he had a rich dad, a poor dad, and he wrote this book, Second Chance. And in this book, he talks about the infinite banking concept. He talks about using whole life insurance for this. And then there's this other guy, I talked about him already, but in Money Master of the Game in section 5.2, he talks about this as well. He talks about this as a strategy. And then we got the book I was talking about right here, R. Nelson Nash's Becoming Your Own Banker. This is the book that if you don't have it, please go get it. And thank you, Tess and everyone leading in the chat, like you guys be interactive with each other. That is amazing. And then we have two of my peers, right? We have Brent Kessler and Chris Naugle, who wrote Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, which is a modern version and their own story about becoming their own bankers and what it's done to change their family's future. And then you got Chris, because he understands that we're teaching you how to be a banker, the most valuable business you could ever have, the most valuable, profitable business in the world. So how do you do it? How do you become a banker? Look at the Private Money Guide. Now let's look at this intriguing concept. So all of you in the chat, I want you to tell me who learns quickly. We're going to talk about this backwards bicycle. Who learns quickly? Pop in the chat. That's right. Anthony knows. Kids. Our kids learn quickly. Their brains are like sponges. They pick up things so fast. So think about when you learned how to ride a bicycle. Go back to that moment. Remember when you got on the bike and you push down the pedals, what happens? The bike goes forward. When you turn the handlebars to the right, the bike goes right. When you turn the handlebars to the left, the bike goes left. What if it didn't work like that? What if you turn the handlebars to the left and the bike went right? How many here thinks they could ride that bike? I always say I could because I'm an avid cyclist. Like I just bought a bike this weekend, so I can do more biking. I think I could, but that's my ego. I would face plant and I'd hope all you wait till I got up to start laughing at me, right? But if you guys think that you could do this, go watch this concept because it's intriguing to see how our brains work, how long it took this adult to learn how to ride a bike, the backwards bicycle, and how long it took him to unlearn riding a regular bike. And so our brains are able to learn new things. But what if money was like this for you guys? What if money was simply like riding a backwards bicycle, just a paradigm shift, just a slight change, and you could learn how to do it? Might be difficult, but it's not going to be impossible. So if you don't know what I'm talking about as I go through this, just give yourself permission that you might not know how to do this yet. That's it. We teach them fear. So why aren't more people successful? Why aren't more people successful? I always say it's either the math or the mindset. Those are the two things that are holding people back. So let's look at some of the wealth killers. Wealth killers are taxes. Anybody here think they don't pay enough in taxes? Do you guys want to pay more taxes? Any eyes for wanting to pay more taxes or not thinking you pay enough taxes? What about inflation? Like we go to Publix, I buy like 5 things and it's like $50 to $100. It's like crazy. It's crazy. Because of all of the new money that's been flooded into the market by our government, now everything costs a lot more. You got volatility, the market going up, the market going down. A lot of people feel like Chris Naugle, the recession is coming. It's just a matter of when. And then the interest, the interest that we're paying others, we're losing money. These are the wealth killers. And then our mindset, it's following the status quo. Well, hey, my friend puts money in a qualified plan, or my friend's doing this, my friend's doing that, my broke ass uncle or brother-in-law is doing this. And then it's fear. It's that fear of not getting it right. And I think there's only two fears, the fear of failure or the fear of rejection. We get to choose. We get to choose. And so a financial philosophy I've adopted is there's more to be had from avoiding the losses than picking the winners. Write that down. There's more to be had from avoiding the losses than picking the winners. That just means I'm pretty conservative. And I don't know how you identify, but if you're conservative, then this might be something that'll be the foundation for whatever you do financially. And then it's what we're taught, right? So let's jump into the mysteries of money. Let's just start off with a fundamental question so we can all have a level playing field. What is the definition of money? How would you define money? Anybody pop in the chat? What is money? I'm going to give you my definition. I think it's nothing more than a means of exchange, right? You take your money, money for car, car for money, money for home, home for money, money for food, food for money. Just a means of exchange. Really hard to carry around cows and sheep and things and barter. So we have a way to exchange value. And now, like anything, I think money has to stay in motion, right? Everything has to be in motion. Now, here's a question for you. Do you know what business uses compound interest? Pop your answer in the chat. Everybody go deep. What business uses compound interest? You might say banks. Jason, banks. And I would say, no, banks will pay you interest, especially a money market or things like that, which I'll go through in an example here shortly, but they're not taking your money. Like if you walk in and you hand that teller $100 and they write your name on it, they write, Ferris or Anthony on that bill, and they go and put it in your checking, into your account. When you go back to get that $100, they're not giving you that same $100. No, as soon as we deposit money in the bank, one, it's no longer legally ours. That's shocking. And two, they have to keep it in motion. So banks don't keep our money. They know that it becomes a liability as soon as we put it in the account. Now, here's another one. I already asked you about taxes. Are taxes going to go up or down in the future? You got your crystal ball? Are they going up or down? I believe, if you look at the usdebtclock.org, if you go on there, it's freaky. You might get freaked out, but we're over $34 trillion in debt in this year. And by next year, we'll be over $44 trillion by 2026. That's nuts. So how's Uncle Sam going to pay for things in the future as we get older? Well, I guess he's either going to raise taxes or he's going to tax more things. And so here's another one. Is $1 worth more today or in the future? The dollar worth more today in the future. If you have a hard time figuring this one out, think how much a dollar would buy 20 years ago. How many candy bars could you get with a dollar, right? You could buy a bunch of candy bars, at least 2 or 3, maybe 4 candy bars 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Today, you can't even buy a candy bar, and they've giant sized them. Candy bars are like $3 to get one. So yes, our money is always more valuable today. So I want to show you how you can take your valuable money today and insulate it and have it guaranteed to grow for the rest of your life. And so with all of this, now this might be, and let's talk about qualified plans for a while. Let's talk about, that's it, 36 trillion, Frank says. That's right, I was off by 2 trillion. So let's talk about your retirement plans. Let's talk about your qualified plans. Do you guys know exactly what's happening, what your money's being invested into, and how much you're going to have when you retire? Or might that go up and down during your time? Like, I'll tell you what I knew about my retirement plan. I knew every year the Schwab advisor would ask me, hey, Jason, how do you feel about taking on more risk? I don't gamble, so I don't know what that means. Well, how do you feel about working an extra 10 years? I just told you I want to retire in my 50s. This is back in my 30s. So I don't know how to answer that. Like, I don't want to take on more risk. I want to feel secure. I want that feeling of security. And then they always say, oh, well, we'll see you next year. Good job putting your max contribution. Well, the reality is we don't know much about what's happening in our qualified plan other than we know it's guaranteed to not be less than 0. Who's excited about that? You get to retirement age, a guarantee of at least 0. Maybe more, maybe, it can't be less. So we've been taught, so all these things might be a lot for you to take in, but you've been taught to accept the traditional way of thinking about money. And who are we taught by? We're taught by the banks, by Wall Street, by investments, by, just hearsay, by our neighbors. But we're not really taught how money works. So if you can hold a space for yourself that what everything I just told you is true and you research it, well, then let's challenge our old concepts and understand how money truly works. Let's talk about the money multiplier method. Let's talk about this simple 3-step process. Step number 1, the machine. I've already given it away a little bit what the machine is. Step number 2 is the marathon. If you know anything about me, you can see my shirt. I don't do marathons unless I've already swam 2.4 miles and cycled 112 miles. I make sure that I get a lot of stuff in before I have to run. And then you have the millionaire mystery, right? Let's map out that millionaire mystery. Let's show you how by taking back control of your money, we'll give you an example from one of our clients that he truly became a millionaire by just changing the one thing. So this is the money multiplier method. The machine, the marathon, the millionaire. So the machine, let's talk about the machine. What is this secret machine? It's nothing more than a dividend paying whole life policy from a mutually owned company, right? You hear us saying a specially designed whole life or specially engineered cash rich whole life. Like those are some of the things you might have heard us say before. But what is it not? It is not an IUL, a VUL, a UL, or a term. Now they can have their place, but when we're talking about banking, as a Nelson Nash certified infinite banking practitioner, we are not ever talking VULs, IULs, ULs. Why? Because they're tied to the market. They don't have the same kind of guarantees that we want for your banking system. So here's a fun interactive exercise. So keep you guys engaged here. Get out your pens, your papers, and draw a cross or draw a T, lowercase t. Top left, you're going to write bank. Top right, you're going to write policy. I must teach this like 5-6 times a day, so I'm glad I get to teach it to all of you. So write liquidity under bank and policy. What's the definition of liquidity for you guys? How do you define liquid? That's right. Liquid is nothing more than having access to the money. It's not locked up in financial prison till you're 59 and a half. Who here has a high yield savings or, their money deposited at a bank where they're earning more than 0.07%? If you do, pop in the chat. What are you earning? I want to use that as a real life example. 3.88%. Thank you, Anthony. We're going with you. 4.5, Norma. Okay, raising the bar. So write down if you're Norma, 4.5. If you're Anthony, 3.88%. Write those down. That's cool. That is exactly what I want. Now on the policy side, I want you to write down 3.25%. Make a little asterisk. That's the first guarantee. There's going to be 2 guarantees on this chart, but that's the first, like contractually guaranteed in your favor. Now under bank, that growth that Norma and Anthony are getting, which is awesome, like it's better than making 0.07%, but it's all taxable. That is taxed at the end of the year. It's all taxable growth. Under policy, it's tax-free. Tax-free growth, tax-free loans, tax-free distribution. The proper term as a practitioner is tax advantaged, but it's tax-free. Under bank, unstable. What do I mean by unstable? Well, think about it. Think about the beginning of 2023. The Silicon Valley Bank was the biggest failure in our history, $204 billion, and had to be bailed out. Then Signature Bank shortly after, $100 billion. During the 2000, 2008, 2009 housing crisis, 364 banks failed. Not one life insurance company failed during that time. And why? Why is it? Because banks use what's called fractional lending. So they're basically creating money out of thin air and they're keeping very little on reserve versus the policy stable. All 5 of the mutually owned dividend paying whole life companies that we partner with, that I'm a broker with, our team works with, they've all been profitable every single year, and it's all over 100 years. For this example, it's 148 years consecutively. Is that not impressive? 148 years. If you look back at the only companies that have been around that long, you're pretty much going to find life insurance companies and breweries. That's curious. Maybe a couple other ones too, but those are 2 of the big ones I noticed. And then under bank, you have unprotected. If you're a business owner, how many business owners do I have here? Give me some eyes in the chat. Me, or eyes. We have a bunch of business owners here. Okay, Tess is a business owner. Awesome. So anyone's a business owner. If you have your money sitting in a regular old bank account, and say somebody, if you're real estate or whatever your business is, someone gets hurt or someone comes to sue you, in a good attorney can get at your money in a regular bank account with liens and judgment. But in a policy, it's protected. In 37 states, it's fully protected. So like the great state of Florida where I'm at, it's fully protected against liens and judgment. So if you look at the right side, like if we're just doing a comparison, left side versus right side, look on the right side, you have guaranteed growth, that's tax-free growth, that is accessible, that is protected and in a stable environment. Versus the other side, no's on all those, right? Now under bank, you have no death benefit. There's no cherry on top. Under policy, this is your second guarantee in the contract. You have a guaranteed tax-free death benefit or tax-free estate. Now, we're not focused on the tax-free death benefit, but if you're like me, if your priority is your family and your legacy and really creating and leaving things in a better place for your family for now and for 100 years, like thinking long term, then that's very important. It's a very important part, and we can't avoid it because at the end of the day, it's whole life insurance. So these are, if you look at this, now Tess, maybe you could answer this one. So Tess, since you've worked for life insurance companies in the past, if you were sitting on the board, of a board of the bank, like you're on the board of directors, and you have to figure out where to put your money, where are you going to keep your money? On the left side in the bank or on the right side in the policy? Which side? Which side are we keeping our money? And she's going to give me the right answer. She's going to keep it on the right side. Because look, I mean, you could ask a 5-year-old this question and they would tell you, oh yeah, the right side is better. Well then why, being on the right side, banks have quadrupled 4x the amount of whole life they bought since 2013. And this started back in the 80s, bully, right? When they really started taking off. But since 2013, they've 4x'd it. Last time I looked, I'm going to talk about this in my next podcast, but last time I looked, they had 225 billion. When I started teaching this chart like a year ago, it was like 182 billion. That's almost a 40 billion plus increase. So where should we keep our money, right? So let's talk about how does our money flow. Now this one might hurt our brains a little bit. I actually got stuck here. So if you can just hold your disbelief as I go through this, I'm going to be the honest banker. And that's not what you can believe me being an honest banker, right guys? But I'm going to talk about how does our money flow, and we're going to talk about the interest rate. And this might confuse some of you. It's going to let you know. So let's imagine that you are a saver. You can be Anthony the saver. Anthony's saving at 3.88%. Just the first name that popped in my mind. And Anthony wants a new car. And so Anthony's been saving his money at my bank, and I've been paying him 4% because I'm super generous. He was getting 3.88. I said, Anthony, come on over here. I'm going to give you 4%. That's why I didn't go with Norma. And Anthony's like, cool, Jason, yeah, I'll do that. An extra 0.12%. Why not? Like, I'm guaranteeing it, which banks don't do either, by the way. But I'm guaranteeing it for 60 months. And he comes to me and he's like, hey, I'm going to buy a new car. I'm like, Anthony, that is awesome. You know what? I'm super happy for you, man. I've seen you diligently putting away your money and saving for a period of time. And I know you got to be stoked to replace that beater you're driving right now. Like, I know you can't wait to have that new car smell again. He's like, yeah, Jason, that's awesome. I can't wait. Let me have my money. I'm like, but hold on, Anthony. Hold on. I'd like to offer you something. I will give you a loan and you will pay me back 6%, but I'll hold on to your $25,000 and you'll keep earning 4%. So you're going to pay me 6, I'm going to pay you 4. But here's the crazy thing. At the end of 5 years, 60 months, you're going to make money. Am I telling Anthony the truth? What says all of you? What says all of you? Am I an honest banker? Am I telling Anthony the truth? And so no. So yes, I'm telling him the truth. Now watch this. How could that be true? His monthly payments at 6% for 60 months are going to be $483.32. The future value of the car is $28,999. The future value of his money earning 4% is $30,000. So I'm in Florida. We do math different here, but is $30,000 more than $28,999? Yes or no? Yes, right? Anthony made money. I was telling him the truth, but how's that possible? He's losing 2%, right? So a lot of people say 4 minus 6 is -2. How can you make money? Well, one, you're paying the loan down on a depreciating scale, and the other, you're earning uninterrupted compounding interest. You could do this with a 4 being earned or a 3 being earned and a 6 being paid. I ran the math. You can run the math too. Just get yourself some future value calculators and run the math. So this is challenging the way that we've been taught about money. We can't look at the interest rate. We have to look at the cash flow that's being created. What's actually happening with our money? That's a great question you could write down. What's actually happening with my money in terms of cash flow? Anthony made $1,526 and he has a new car.
Your real estate business lives and dies by the network and the connections that you make. I mean, after all, your network, well, it's your net worth. That's what you always heard, right? If that's an area where you desire improvement, well, Private Money Club, it's for you. PMC saves you precious time and money by bringing the real estate world, well, right to you, right in the palm of your hand. So get in on the action, like so many others have, by going to privatemoneyclub.com and sign up.
So let's look. Now I'm going to keep being Jason the Honest Banker for this next example, but I want you guys to imagine what it would look like. Or maybe I'll have you wait for your imagination. Just follow this. So remember I told you, now Anthony, he really likes me now. So Jason, I'm going to earn, I got $100,000, just came in, inherited, or I just had this great windfall, comes in deposit at my bank. I'm like, cool, Anthony, I'll keep giving you 4%. But remember what I told you earlier? When you deposit money in a bank, is that an asset or liability to the bank? Pop in the chat, asset or liability? It's a liability because the bank is telling Anthony, I'm going to pay you 4% or 0.07%, whatever they tell you. So now we've actually legally surrendered our money. That's crazy. So I said it here. You can look it up. I had to look it up like 5 different places to actually believe that when we deposit money in the bank, it's no longer legally ours. Well, it's a liability to the bank because they have to pay us. So we've given up and now we're actually a creditor of the bank. But the bank has to keep our money in motion, right? Because money in motion makes more money. And the banks understand to be able to pay us 4%, they have to do something with the money. And so they find someone that wants to buy a home and they lend it out at 7%. Now the seller pays the money and the money comes back where? They got to deposit it somewhere back to the bank. So the bank's like, well, I got the money, I'm going to move it again. So now they move it out and they lend it to somebody buying a nice car. Pretty sweet looking ride, right? Now the dealer comes back and puts the money back in the bank. And now they want to do a home remodel. Like I just talked to the guy earlier. He's going to do like a $100,000 kitchen remodel where people want to remodel add an addition on, maybe add a mother-in-law suite, right? We want to add a pool. We always want to make where we live, our abode, nicer. So they're going to do a home remodel. But now the bank's going to charge them 9%. Contractors come back, they deposit the money because they got to store their money somewhere too. And now debt consolidation. We're going to consolidate some debt and now 12%. So let's look at what the banks have done here. So we're paying Anthony 4%, but now the bank is making 3%, 7 minus 4. 8 minus 4 is 4. Let's speed this up a little bit. 9 minus 4 is 5. And 12 minus 4 is 8. So if you add those together, right, the bank has 20%. Now look, now how much more of a percent do the banks make than us or than Anthony? Anthony's making 4%, we're making 20%. Isn't that 5 times more? So some people might say, hey, it's only 16%. No, it's 500 times more. The bank just made 500% on Anthony's money. They paid Anthony 4%. Who's winning in that equation? Now imagine if you were in the middle, like put your name there, put Soli's bank, Tessa's bank, Anthony's bank, the Henderson bank, whatever you want to call it, the Sipple bank, your privatized banking system. Imagine yourself in the middle. That's what we want to accomplish over the long term. Now, if you guys don't believe this, like I said, look up everything I'm telling you. Please go poke holes in it because the deeper you go down the rabbit hole, the more questions you're going to come back and ask me. But banks annually, I should add that to the slide, annually make 400 to 1,300% on every dollar we leave there. Is that not wild? Like super wild, right? 400%. That'd be an amazing return. You ever hear that kind of return? What do? You run the other way and you take your money with you. But the banks are doing that all day long, all day long. Now let's look at this piece of it. Now the banks, psychologically speaking, they have us figured out. We're just learning what they're doing. We're just learning their game, but they have us figured out. They know how our minds work. So let's look how we spend our money. Automobiles. Now this, I believe this is wrong, right? This is from years and years of research, but I believe we're paying on average a lot more than 20 cents of every dollar we earn for our automobiles, for, coverage, everything else, but that's what we're going to use for this. Housing, 30 cents of every dollar. Everything else, our fun, our discretionary money, 40%, and we're saving 10%, which is super generous because you know what this US savings rate is right now? Less than 5%. It's been as low as like 3.5%. So I'm being generous saying that we're paying ourselves 10%. And before I move on and I add the interest to this and I show you how you can start thinking differently and pulling back that interest that you're giving other people, right? And having the banks be wealthy instead of your family, I want to run through something really quick. Let's talk about loving ourselves a little bit more. Let's talk about how if we follow the first two commandments, the first three commandments, right? We will change how we do everything. And it applies to our money, which I find fascinating. So the first commandment's what? Love God with our heart, our mind, and our soul. The second commandment is love thy neighbor like thyself, right? Love thy neighbor like thyself. The part that we miss is thyself. So numerically, biblically speaking, that means if we follow the commandments, 1 is God, 2 is self, 3 is neighbor. If you have debt problems, what are you doing right now? You're going 1, 3, 2. Wild, right? How do we get groomed to go 1, 3, 2? Well, we think we need the things now. We can't wait till later. We're not loving ourselves first. It's a little bit more love. I'm all about spreading the love. Let's give ourselves a little bit more love and pay ourselves like the richest man in Babylon tells us to do, at least 10%. So let's talk about what happens if we just take the interest. Remember, we finance everything we buy. We're either paying interest or earning interest or giving up the opportunity to earn interest, meaning paying cash. That's it. That's the only way money works. Now we got 5 cents of every dollar flowing back to our savings. Now we're at 15 cents of every dollar savings. And now our housing is another 25 cents of every dollar. Anyone here been in your home for less than 7 years on a 15 or 30-year mortgage? Anybody? You have to be brave if you say me, because I'm going to tell you something and it might make you cry. I'm sorry. Anybody? Well, we were in that situation until we just did something about it. But so when you go look at your, at your mortgage bill, it's going to take you about a couple of seconds to look and notice that something's really crazy. You're paying 70 to 80% of that payment, of that 14, 16, 18, 2000, whatever your mortgage payment is going to the bank. You're only paying your principal down by 20 to 30% for those first 7 years. Why do banks do that? Because banks are smart. They know on average we move every 5 to 7 years. We've been in this home 7 years and I'm ready to move. Like, are they in my brain? Am I programmed? I think about it all the time. Like, no, I just want to move on a lake and do this and this and this, have a bigger studio, all the things. But the truth is, it's only been 7 years and I'm ready. It's like the programming, it's there. And so let's look at the next thing. We got 40 cents of every dollar, remember, for everything else. That's about another 5 cents. So now we've shifted. Are you following what I'm doing? If we're taking back control of these debts, which I'll show you an example that'll make this clear later. But now that's 30, 35 cents add to that 10 cents. Now we're saving 45 cents of every dollar. I gave all of you a 35% raise. Anybody here want a 35% raise? Anybody? I do. I'll give you my address if you want to send me that 35 cents of every dollar you're saving. That'd be awesome. Now let's open the hood of the machine. Let's open the hood and let's show you how you get all the money back for every truck. Because I live in Florida, you gotta have a nice truck like this. You're gonna buy, drive, or own. My F-150 doesn't look quite like that, but one day, it's a pretty bad looking truck, or whatever car you dream about. Let's show you how to get all the money back. Now, there's one thing, we're gonna watch our language, because our words make our world. Our words make our world. We're not gonna call them premiums, because when we call them premiums, it feels like what? It feels like a debt. Instead, we're going to call them what they really are. They're premium deposits. We're just changing that one thing. Where does our extra money go? And your age doesn't matter. The guy earlier I was talking to, my friend, he's going to be 60 this year. That doesn't matter. Most of the people I talk to are in their 50s or 60s or 70s, and I'm having, 3 or 4 or 5 calls a day. And most of the time, the majority of people I'm speaking with are my age or a little bit older because we hadn't started asking that better question earlier. So the age doesn't matter. And we're not going to really talk about the death benefit, but remember, I think this is an important piece of everything. So let's look how this works. We're going to use Anthony here again. So Anthony now, he's ready to, we're showing how Anthony was a saver during these years. Every year, Anthony is depositing $10,000, okay? And in year 3, he's going to take a $25,000 loan from his policy, from the insurance company. And now Anthony, because he's an honest guy, I like Anthony, he's going to be an honest banker. He's not going to steal the peas, as R. Nelson would talk about in his grocery store example. So he's going to pay $500 a month back to himself or back to his policy, right, to the cash value so he can use that money again. So now over the next 5 years, Anthony has paid $500 a month times 12, $6,000 a year back in. Well, let's look at the totals after 7 years. Anthony has made $70,000 in premium deposits. The car loan payment back to himself is 30 grand minus the $25,000. So it's 100 grand minus 25,000. He's got $75,000 left in the account, right? And look where his cash value is. So now we're going to do something wild. And just right here, I've shown you how Anthony has gotten back 91 cents of every dollar for the car he just bought. And he has the car and he has the money. Have any of you ever had the car and the money after 5 years of purchasing a vehicle? If you're a leaser, a cash buyer, or a financer, please pay attention. I drive around always wondering, who can I help? And I see all these awesome cars driving around here in Orlando. I'm like, I can help them, and it's just too many. But right now, you just learn remember, we're thinking long-term first. In the first 5 years, you're getting 90 cents, not 1 cent of every dollar. Now we're going to do something crazy. You guys like crazy? We're going to stop making premium deposits after year 7. So you can do that. I wouldn't recommend it, but we're going to do it for this example. Now, Anthony's car, he's got friends and family in the car, and they're all messy. They're not clean like Anthony. They've made a mess of this thing. He's driven it. He's gone to the beach. So there's sand, there's stains. It's no more new car smell. Anthony's ready to get that next car. He's ready to pass this one on to someone else. So he takes a loan from his policy again. He's not made any more deposits. In year 8, he takes another loan, but he's still going to be an honest banker, and he's going to pay himself back the same amount. Now he's paid another $30,000 into this. The car purchase is $25,000. But look, his cash value has grown by $23,592. How's that possible? Because of the uninterrupted compounding interest. This time, Anthony's going to actually make a little bit of money from buying the car, and he's made no more premium deposits. Again, I wouldn't teach you how to do that when I'm teaching you how to become your own banker, because that could be so much further ahead if he had just kept paying the premium deposits. So you guys like what you're hearing so far? Does that make sense? So let's look at the 3 rules for making this work. 3 rules, simple. Pay yourself first. I just went through a whole thing about 1, 2, and 3. Pay yourself first. Your life actually depends on it. You need to hear that again? Pay yourself first. Your life actually depends on it. Number 2, pay yourself with interest. Don't just say, hey, it's my bank. I don't want to pay the interest anymore. Be an honest banker. This is the most valuable business you could own. Pay yourself with interest. Number 3, recycle and recapture the money. What do we mean by that? Well, use your policy loan to pay for the thing and then pay the interest back into your system. Now, yes, you give up a little to the insurance company, but over the long haul, your money is growing uninterrupted compound interest. You're filling up your bucket so you can use the money again, and you have a guaranteed death benefit. Shh, say we weren't going to talk about it. Sorry. And so if this works for a car, what else is it going to work for? Your debts. Let's talk about debt. Let's talk about how we have more than $1 trillion of credit card debt right now. Our savings is so low. And remember, this is intentional. They taught us to give up control of our money and then to assume the risk, right? They want to control us, by having us live paycheck to paycheck. And if we just looked at what the cost of what we purchase actually cost over a year, over 5 years, we might start making different choices. But now this is a real life example. This is a 45-year-old healthy male chiropractor, one of Brent Kessler's original clients when he started the Money Multiplier. And he came to us after seeing this exact presentation. This presentation, he walked up to Chris Naugle and he said, "Chris, can you help us?" And Chris said, "I don't know. Maybe. It depends. Because we have to solve your problem. We're not here selling anything. We're here solving the problem." And I always say that our progress equals happiness. So we want to solve a problem in the beginning and then show you, tie it to your long-term vision, to your 10, 20, 50, 100-year plan. What does that look like? So this guy comes to us, and this is pretty normal. I've had 3,000 of these calls. This is a pretty normal setup. He has $478,000 in debt, including like his, summer condo and the house he lives in with his family. He's paying $5,777 a month in debt. If he just kept paying these things back to the bank, it will take him 19 years. Do 19 times the 70K or 69K and change. He is paying the banks a lot of money. Everyone agree with that? Is that a fair statement? He's paying a lot of money to the banks. And he said, "Hey, guys, can you help me? Can you help me set up my banking system?" We said, "Sure." "Well, if you're paying," he said, "well, I'm saving $25,000 a year." Because that's the first thing we asked him. "Hey, Doc, what are you saving?" 25 grand a year. "Okay. Well, let's show you what happens if he takes his savings and he puts it into his specially engineered for Dr. let's call him Doc John. I don't think that was his name, but in year one, let's show you what happens." Remember, he puts money into the system. He deposits $25,000. He has a cash value of $14,863. And now we do what? We pay off these two loans. We recapture the money, the monthly payments, and that interest that was going to somebody else. So now he frees up $448 in year one. In year two, has he worked any harder? Has he done anything different? No. In year two, he makes that same deposit, and look, he has a little bit more. He's paid himself back. That 448 times 12 is $5,374. He's got $21,000 to use. What's he going to do with that money? He's going to knock out these next loans. And now he's recaptured another $1,917. Anyone here want another $24,000 a year back into their family? Does that sound like a good plan? Now look, year three, he makes the deposit. Now he's got a little bit more cash value. He's already hit that efficiency point. And this isn't always the case. Sometimes it's year 3, 4, 5, 6. Just depends on what we're building and a lot of the variables based on insurance. But, for this doc, year 3, he's got an extra $541. He's paid himself back $23,000 and change. You add those up. I know a lot of us get lost in math. Me too. But now he's got $48,000. So look, 4,000 plus 36. That's 40, so he's going to pay those off. Can't pay off the condo yet, but he's taking a big chunk, so now that monthly payment's actually probably reduced. He's got $3,677 coming back to him monthly. That's almost $48,000 a year. That's a lot of dimp. Okay, and so remember, this is a marathon, so let's look what what the doc's done so far. Sorry, I just made you a doctor, Anthony. How much do we put in year 1, 2, and 3? 75 grand, right? I love you guys being interactive. Tess, Anthony, Brady, thank you. So look, you got the loans of 55K taken out. How much is left in the policy? How much is still growing uninterrupted in compound interest? That's tax-free. That's protected. That's in a stable environment. It's accessible. How much? 20 grand? You guys do math like me, 75 minus 55? That ain't right. The whole $75,000 is still earning uninterrupted compound interest. So that's earning at 3.25% if you use my chart earlier, and you're probably earning 5 to 6% because of the dividend, which I can't guarantee, but remember, all the companies we work with have never missed one. And so now we're in year 4. We're just putting that boring old 25 grand into the account. He takes a loan out for a little bit more. His payment's back to himself. Now 70,000 bucks. Look, can't pay off the condo yet. That's a big chunk out of it. Year 5, Like that money goes up again every year. We can't stop it. It just keeps getting better and better. Sorry. It's getting better and better every year. Money comes back. He pays off the condo. Now he's freed up $4,556 by year 5. Do you remember how long it was going to take for him to pay all of that money back? 19 years, right? Now in year 6, something happens. He goes and only can deposit $10,000 into that specially engineered whole life. He's got a cash value of $13,000, so he's got extra surplus money. What's the doc going to do? He's going to go ahead and open a new branch office, just like every bank. Like you have a profitable business on Main Street, what do? When you can't fit any more into your 12-ounce container, what do? You get another container, a bigger container, or you drink some of it and use it, but he's going to build another container. So now he's doing that same 25,000. He's got 13,000 in cash value, or 14,863 there, for a total cash of $82,633 between the 2 policies and his payments back to himself. Knocks out the house. We're in year 6, 3x how fast it was, saved a ton of interest, and now he can concentrate on paying himself back in full. Now the great thing is we actually, if you're someone that has debt, we will map this out for you. We will run all the scenarios mathematically, the snowball, the avalanche, the highest interest first. We will take what is designed by us, the money mentor, based on what you want to do, based on your goals, and we'll overlay it and we'll show you, just like this as you're going through underwriting, how long is it going to take to pay all the third-party debt? How long is it going to take to pay the policy loan back? When are you going to be debt-free by? How much interest are you saving? And what is that death benefit? Who likes that? Is that not cool? This is something we implemented in 2024. And then, if you believe like me, once your policy is approved, once you have funded it, because you see that debt blaster first, now you get assigned a student driver for free. You get an implementation specialist, because I don't think knowledge is powerful unless what? Unless you add action. Applied knowledge is power. This is why I partnered with the Money Multiplier team. I had built that recruitment division I told you about from scratch, and I saw all the pieces that had to be in place. I said, you know what? I want to stay in my lane, what I'm good at, talking to people, teaching this stuff, and helping and serving at a high level. And I'm going to let everyone else do their thing, the application specialists, the implementation specialists, the people that build the spreadsheets. Because guess what? I am not the person that loves spreadsheets. I love math, but not spreadsheets. I have someone else do that to help you guys. And so you're going to get this person assigned to you to show you how to take out a loan, pay back a loan, to read your dashboard. It's all super simple, but we want to make sure that you feel that support. So progress equals happiness. I want to pause here for a second. You know, we've been at this for a while, almost an hour. Everyone can ask you used to ask this in every training I did for recruitment. You know, move around a little bit, shake your arms out, maybe raise your hands, lower them down. You know, no one makes progress without falling down a few times. So anything that you haven't gathered yet, just say, I don't know it yet. Give yourself permission to say, I just don't know this yet. And I want to ask you, how do you eat an elephant? My wife actually asks me this all the time. One bite at a time. One bite at a time. She says, Jason, we're building this business. We're serving people, but we can't start at the elephant's ear. We got to start down low. Yeah, we got to start maybe with an elephant steak or maybe an elephant salad. We got to get used to eating elephant for a while, right? The man or the woman didn't fall to the top. They had to get there. How? Step by step by step. They had to change their thinking and see themselves at the top of the mountain, being around the people that helped them get there, right? It's the same thing with becoming your own banker. And so is it possible to owe no man nothing? Yes. Machine works for everything, for vacations, homes, taxes, tuition, everything. We're only limited by our imagination. So if we continued, remember I said we're going to map out the millionaire mystery? You guys you thought I forgot, right? If this doc kept paying back the condo to himself for the time that was left and the home for the same thing, look, 220 grand plus 273, that's 493,000. That's $500,000. But it gets better. Now you add the uninterrupted compounding interest. Now look, 750,000. And you know that he kept making the premium deposit. So now you know that we've mapped out his millionaire mystery. It leaves you with that 749,000 plus you have a house and a condo that are paid off. And you have a death benefit. So now that you know this, shouldn't everyone do this? If you're not doing it, aren't we stealing from our children if we have them, from our grandchildren, from our great-grandchildren, for people in our family line that we don't even know about yet? The answer is yes. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Stanleys, the Barclays, they all understood how to do estate planning, how to keep money in their family. The Rockefellers' waterfall method is something that we are all learning and teaching. You know, everyone needs to break the bonds of financial slavery that you don't even know you're in. You're just letting all that money leave your family. Like Warren Buffett said, if poor people just do what rich people do, they won't be poor anymore. That's the truth. And at the end of things, only one of two things is going to happen to us. We're going to live, or we're going to die. I got bad news for you. I'm sorry I didn't preface that. Hope you were sitting down, but we're going to die at some point. We're going to graduate, kick the bucket, however you like to say it. I'm good with dying. You know, are we better off during our life insurance, or during our death with this? Better with or without? The answer is obviously with. So now that you know what to do, now that you know, in this hour journey with me, if you're really listening to your heart, you're going to find your path. Just look for the truth. Ask yourself, where am I currently on my journey? And how do I get to the next step? So if you want to learn more, if you want to have a conversation with me, go ahead and scan that QR code. I'm going to highlight this and copy this into the chat for you. And if you don't, keep learning. We've got tons of resources. Stay around the campfire. If you're not ready, cool. I have no attachment. But if you're ready, if you understand, if you are saving more than you're spending, then it's time to have a conversation with me. If you're not, then your first thing is to go and to save more money and get in the habit of paying yourself more than you're spending. So no matter what, let's see, we got a question. What happens to loans interest being built up if it's not paid? It's a great question, John. I would at least pay the simple interest, but the answer is when you actually graduate, the interest is going to eat away at the growth, right? It's going to eat away at the cash value. But when you die, any of that outstanding loan will be paid off from the guaranteed death benefit, and then the rest will go to the beneficiaries. So the life insurance company is basically double insured when we're taking a loan, and that's why they started them back in 1848. But if you have additional questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat when this goes live on the YouTube page, or hit me up at jason@themoneymultiplier.com with questions. I'd be happy to answer them for you. Or like I said, if you're saving more than you're spending and you want to start the journey, go ahead and book a call with me. No matter what, I'm extremely grateful that you're here with me, that you are giving up your most valuable resource, your time, your energy, your focus. Truly blessed and grateful to be here with you. Until next time, I'll actually be back next Tuesday. I will see you all again soon. Be blessed.
All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. We're putting up tons of them, but I think if you like this one, you'll probably like that video as well. Not only that, I've got a book that I created, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, where we actually show you what the wealthy do in the game they play with money. I want you to have that for free. And if you want to know about all my new videos coming up, click that alert button. Actually, smash that alert button, and you'll be notified every time we put a new video. So we'll see you on the next episode.